So I think when you see the decisions being made, you have an insight into what makes the thing itself. So that's why I get so in depth and critical and myopic about what seem to be really small details about CrossFit and competitive CrossFit, because it's like what I'm reading isn't just what the decisions are. What I'm reading is what you're telling me about the thing.
What your company's values are.
Right. And sometimes none of that makes sense. Sometimes it literally does not make any sense. And it's really important, I think, to call that out.
Have they done something recently that makes you feel this way? They being CrossFit HQ.
I mean, the programming of this year, I have some reservations about. I don't think it's like the worst ever. I just think it sticks out, and it's really weird, and it's kind of like fundamentally different. I've said it's flawed, but that could be maybe a little bit of a stretch. Obviously, it's very different. Potentially, it's flawed, but fundamentally, there's something really different about the programming this year compared to any previous year at the CrossFit Games, even any previous year at regionals.
Right, but we're not going to really, really know the answer until we see this last week.
I don't think that's the right way of looking at it. And the reason why I don't think it's the right way of looking at it is because this set of 7 events stands separate from those from those events for the File and Fire are taking. And the reason why we know that is because the scores are resetting. There is no relationship between what happens this weekend and what happens in October, other than it's supposed to all be CrossFit.
Okay, so I want to get back to this equalizer and what we're deciding.
Time, death, taxes, the great equalizers.
Let's talk about Haley.
Haley Adams. She's super fit.
According to the website, 19 years old, 5'6", 145 pounds, dominating the teen category before turning pro last year, right?
Correct.
This weekend, we'll go over how, in reverse order, how well she did in things.
Okay.
Fourth, 5th, 6th, 12th, 26th.
Hold on. No.
Fourth. 5th. Yeah.
No.
12th, 6th, 26th.
No. What? Stop. You're doing it weird. I
was saying from best to worst.
Okay. From best to worst. Try it again.
So
fourth. She got 3 fourth place finishes. Yeah.
Right. A 5th place finish.
A 5th place finish. Yep.
A 6th place finish.
Yeah.
A 12th place finish. This is all phenomenal. This puts you as one of the best of the best.
Correct.
If you were allowed one event to not do good in this time around and make it, hers would be the front squat. Okay. Where she was near the bottom, right?
Bottom 5, actually.
Bottom 5, right? Last year, we got to the end of the games there, right? She had done great. And then what happened?
She couldn't clean the barbell.
Yeah. And how can we right? How can we blah 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 if you can't blah blah blah, right?
Okay.
Isn't there always going to be something? Or do we just expect everybody to always just be great at everything and then boom, you're the best CrossFitter? Won't there always be a situation like this? Can Haley overcome this and still do super well all the time?
Yes. By definition of being in 3rd place after these 7 events.
Correct. So
if what you're asking is,
people might frown upon those strength issues.
What do you mean by frown? Like people might be upset that she's not very strong and she's making it to the games?
Well, not just making it, but doing really well.
Maybe. I mean, I think that's a fair thing to point out. But when I see that pointed out, there's a couple things that I think of. One is, look how much better than everybody else she is at everything else.
Right. Right.
So there's that.
That's what I see. That's definitely what I see.
And that is something that's very important to point out, because CrossFit is, like you said, it's like a bunch of very different tests, and you have to be good at a lot of them in order to be the best in the world. It just so happens that Tia is really, really good at just about everything. But if you look at the 1 rep max front squat, 3rd, 4th, and 5th were all in the bottom 10. No.
Nope.
No.
Where do you want to go?
Don't do that. Just do it regular points. Look at the regular points.
Regular
the
points.
Final ranking. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, they were
3rd place. Yeah, in the front squat. 3rd place overall, 4th place overall, and 5th place overall were all in the bottom 10 on the front squat. So arguably
bottom 5 almost, but yeah.
Almost. Arguably, the overall top end strength is actually the least important factor when you look at these events.
How did the men do with that?
The men is a totally different world, and the people who are the best at the 1 rep max front squat did the worst overall, except for Matt,
who's great at everything.
Who's pretty good at everything. The men's is a totally different thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But
so that's the question: is should that, if we're gonna if we can't help how tall we are, right? If that's not a thing that matters in terms of like we can't choose it, right? Unless we chop something off, perhaps. Should that be something should overall this kind of strength be more equally laid out amongst the other things, or is this probably what the CrossFit Games will always look like? Let's say from the women's perspective, pretty fit all the way across, and the super strong chicks aren't nearly as, adept at the other things.
I think the question you're asking is a question that someone who doesn't live in this space would ask, and I get that. But
that's why I'm here. That's why.
Let me answer the question you should be asking instead of answering that question.
Okay.
The question you should be asking is, what does this tell us? What does it mean that, arguably 60% of the final 5 qualifiers on the women's side are in the weakest part of the field? What it means is strength, raw strength, as measured in this specific case by the front squat, is not as big of a carryover to overall fitness as something else. That's all it means. It just means that when you're testing all these different things, the part of you that makes you really good at rowing a 1K quickly, running really fast with heavy overhead squats, holding yourself in a handstand, and doing Fran really quickly, like the thing in your makeup, your physical constitution that gets you those things, is weighed heavier across your total number of events than the thing that makes you really good at front squats. It doesn't mean you can't be really good at front squats and really good at those things. Look at Tia Clark Toomey. She won the front squat event, and she also won 3 other events. But what it does mean is that, when you look at an event like the 1K row, the capacity it takes to do a 1K row carries over more to the other events in the space, right? So the reason why I say that is just look at these scores. So there's a huge difference in the front squat in the top 5 qualifiers: 1st place, 10th place, 26th place, 27th place, 22nd place. But the 1K row, 6th, 5th, 6th, 4th, 19th. So that tells you right there, like, something about the 1K row translates way better. Even better, look at Nasty Nancy. 3rd, 5th, 4th, 1st, 8th.
So then the question becomes,
really what you're looking at here is like, okay, so these events are a better quote unquote predictor for how you are as an overall CrossFitter. That's another way of explaining it.
So if we assume that Matt and Tia are on an island to themselves, which they are, let's just looking at the women here, Brooke, Haley, Katrin, right? You've got to train, right? If you were coaching them, would you say, you know what, you really need to work on this, or just keep being amazing at the other 90% of things, because that's gonna win the day for you until Tia retires?
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
Or you would be a professional coach.
I am of the belief that you should really lean into your strengths. The things that will separate you from the field, you should absolutely feed that fire, because when it shows up, you need to be able to perform that. Is that how everybody feels? Probably not. And do I mean that as like a, specialist should specialize? No, I mean that in the CrossFit sense of like, if you're really good at something, don't let it fall apart just so you can be good at other things. If you're great at something, letting yourself slip to just being good at something in order to bring other things up is probably not a good trade-off. Like, you need to continue to be great at things.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Oh, go on.
That might be a complete lie.
No, you're definitely asking me more than one question.
You mentioned if people were 5'11" or over, they looked at these workouts and they're like, well, this might suck for me. I'll give it my best. If you're Pat Vellner and you had a groin injury and you're like, well, fuck, like, I'm just going to still, and I know you know these people and you're friendly with many of them, but who is really pissed at themselves? Who should have had a great games that didn't men first?
I mean, barring something like an injury, I think Björgvin Carl Goodmanson is probably not very happy with his finish. I think he should have done better. Personally, I think he should have done better. And on the women's side, I would say Sarah Sigmundsdottir.
And what do we think? Just sometimes you have a fucking bad week.
I mean, he didn't really have that bad of a week. He just wasn't able to knock anything out of the park. I think it's uncharacteristic of him to have this many low finishes. But look at his last day of competition. His last day of competition was 5th, 6th, and 10th. It's pretty good, but you really have to be in the top 10 in like most of your events. And he was outside of the top 10 in most of his events, which is, again, uncharacteristic, which is why I think he probably feels like he didn't perform to the best of his capabilities. If you look at his games finishes, he's absurdly consistent.
Yeah, 3rd, 5th, 5th, 8th, 3rd. And then really bad, 26 and 2014, that was his first year, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's crazy good at CrossFit. Like, he's crazy good at CrossFit, and he does really well at the games. So it is uncharacteristic for him to have that many finishes outside the top 10.
And what's the theory on Sarah? You said you disagreed with their opinion yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever I talked to you last.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Sarah's like in a slump of some sort. It's just been a long slump. It's just a really weird long slump, because she did well earlier this year. She did well in the Open. She won it overall worldwide. She did well competing at various sanctionals, but she's just slipped a lot.
Yeah, she won the Open 2 years in a row.
Yeah, she won
3 out of 4.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. You know what I mean? But in 2018, she had a rib injury, so she withdrew. That's what that 37th place is.
Right.
And in 2019, she took 19th, which is like not that great. And this year, she was again like middle of the pack.
What is this? I see this team series on some people's thing.
Yeah, it's just another event that CrossFit did. It doesn't mean anything. It's not part of the game season.
It's not team games. It wasn't the team.
It's not part of the game season.
So
So Sarah's performance this year is uncharacteristic. It is to the point where having this 2 years in a row at the games, it's, I think, one of those situations where, we can't necessarily say that, oh, she's like chronically underperforming, because you kind of have to make a readjustment as to what homeostasis is here. Like her homeostasis before, the expectation was she's basically fighting for first place because she went, top 5 and podiumed 2 years in a row. And now, she like busts a rib, so she withdraws. Arguably the year that she was like the fittest, that she had come onto the competition field. And then last year she doesn't do so well, and she's had some kind of like public issues with like her coach, and she's been coaching herself for the past like 6-7 months. But she said she was feeling really good coaching herself, so clearly something slipped. And I don't know what that is. Like maybe she doesn't coach herself, maybe she does have a coach now. But physically, Sarah has the capacity to like podium at the CrossFit Games every year. You don't lose that. That doesn't happen accidentally. And it's not like the programming has been so different and she's suddenly developed all these like weird weaknesses. It's just that she seems to not be doing what we would expect her to do.
One more question, Armen.
All day long. Hit me.
If you go to the drop down here, anytime you go to a year, right? Then you go to the competition, open, online qualifier, regionals, blah, blah, blah. If this is the games,
yeah,
and then a month from now is the games, what are they going to call this?
Wow, that's a really good question. I believe they're going to call it the Games Stage 1 or Games Online Stage.